No, seriously, do you even know? Like, I know at first glance that question seems so obvious, but why do you actually play Fortnite? I don't think enough players ask themselves this, and to be honest, this is probably the most important question you could ask yourself as an individual Fortnite player. But why is that? As we go through this video, you're gonna find out why it's so important, but what I want you to do is I want you to sit down and actually think about why you fell in love with this game. And while you're doing that, I think it's important for me to answer the question as well. And in order for me to do that for you guys, I need to tell you a story that I have never told on this channel before. One which is gonna take us back, not to when Fortnite first came out, not to when Battle Royales became popular, but to when I was actually 8 years old. To understand the story I'm about to tell you, you have to put yourself in the mindset of someone who grew up in the late 90s to early 2000s. I'm talking about a time period before every single person had the internet in their house, before cell phones were a thing. Actually, forget cell phones. I'm talking about smartphones, before the idea of a tablet was even conceivable, touchscreens, all of that. So you have to understand that in the early 2000s, video games, although they were popular, they weren't necessarily normalized in culture. There were a lot of people that were against the idea of their children being in front of a TV screen all day playing games, and my family was one of those families. There were a lot of studies and news articles and news broadcasts about how video games are rotting your children's brain, all of that kind of fear-mongering going on at the time. It was even put in a lot of children's programming, but ironically, it was one child's program in particular that planted the seeds for what would eventually become my enjoyment for Battle Royale. I feel like it's not just gonna be my older viewers that remember this show, but a lot of people just grew up on this program. But Arthur, that used to be one of my favorite childhood TV shows between the ages of like 3 years old and probably like 8 or 9. I used to watch Arthur every day, 3:30 p.m. right after Mr. Rogers, and get so excited about the latest episode that would come out. However, there was one episode in particular that always comes to my mind when I think about Fortnite specifically. As a matter of fact, when Fortnite came out, it actually unlocked the memory of this episode. Now, to prepare myself for this video, I actually went back and watched this episode of Arthur for the first time in about 15 years, and outside of having insanely ahead of its time commentary on internet culture, I realized that it actually planted the seeds for what would eventually become the Battle Royale genre. Now, just to give a bit of context, the premise for this episode and the moral at the end of it is really telling kids to go outside and touch grass, which I am all for. I think that that was awesome. But in order to get us there, they had to give the kids an obstacle in the form of a video game. This game actually has the same title as the episode Best of the Nest. Basically, the setup for the game is this. Arthur and his friends are all logging on to this online video game where they get to pick one character and there can only be one winner, the best of the nest. The way they accomplish this is by overcoming different obstacles that'll be presented to them as they traverse this island or terrain, whatever it is, these different biomes that they go in. They have to go through each level, overcome some kind of obstacle by answering some multiple choice question, and if you answer the wrong one, you die. And remember, there can only be one winner that becomes Best of the Nest. Now tell me, that concept doesn't sound a little familiar to you. That is in essence the premise of a battle royale. A bunch of people competing to win one spot. There can only be one winner in the game. I remember watching that episode as a kid and being like, wow, I wish all of my friends and I could play a game like that. That's actually really cool. And then I went on about my life. Now, I didn't realize at the time, but Arthur was essentially setting the seeds for what would become my interest in the Battle Royale genre. However, it was not the only game that was influential to what would eventually become my love for Fortnite. In between the time I found that episode and when Fortnite came out, there was an entire new wave of trends for gaming, specifically with open worlds and fully destructible environments. The first time I came across this concept was in the 2007 Transformers the movie game for the Nintendo DS, specifically the Autobots version, because I had to be Optimus Prime. Those mechanics were a huge selling point to the early Transformer games. Open world, you can explore everywhere, everything, you can blow up any building you want, fully destructible environment, you can blow up cars, kill people, whatever. The games were insanely fun. Outside of Transformers, we also have to remember that Minecraft became a thing later on as well, so this idea of an open world sandbox game was very appealing to me. So in essence, between Arthur, Transformers, and Minecraft, I was slowly getting exposed to what would become the core DNA elements for the Battle Royale genre. But nothing scratched that itch. Not until October of 2017. I won't bore you with the details on how I exactly found Fortnite, but the game had everything I wanted. A new world full of Easter eggs to explore, fully destructible environments, but this time with a purpose. Every single thing that I destroyed ended up going in my inventory to help me build a base that would keep me alive. And on top of all of that, the most important aspect of this game, combat, the PvP element, the Battle Royale experience. The initial exposure to the idea was terrifying. Me versus 100 other real players? That sounds like absolute insanity. But that was another thing I loved about Fortnite, which was the challenge. All of these things are the reason why I fell in love with Fortnite. However, as time progressed, I realized that the reason why I fell in love with the game started to evolve, and it did not take much time for that to happen. These are the things that were initially my reason for why I played Fortnite, but I found that as time progressed, that would change. I think it's important that players give themselves the grace to grow, that your initial reasoning for playing something will evolve. And it's not that you're not that same 8-year-old kid that was initially attracted to Fortnite because it was some deep-rooted memory of you watching an episode of Arthur. Like, that will always still be there. Like, the game at its core has to be fun to play. But as you progress, you'll find that there are other things that keep you tethered and attached to the game. And sometimes things that you used to enjoy will no longer appeal to you. But regardless of that, you need to understand that sometimes your involvement with the game, the reason why you love it, is going to change over time. For example, once again, my initial reasoning for loving Fortnite was because of a deep-rooted memory that I had with Arthur. There's something about the idea of competing with your friends and being the only winner that was compelling to me even at a young age. However, the more I played Fortnite, the more that reasoning evolved into something more. For example, I love the community and the culture surrounding the game at that time. I loved how much of a challenge it was. I loved how all my friends and I were racing to see who could get the victory umbrella first, almost like that episode of Arthur. And finally, I loved how much the game got updated. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before. Now, in my almost 8 years of playing Fortnite, my reasoning for playing the game has changed a lot, to the point where I eventually am playing the game full-time as a career, as a content creator. And even before then, I had such a variety of reasons to be attracted to Fortnite, but ironically, it's those reasons that end up making me love the game. They end up being reasons for other people to kind of drift away from it over time. One thing that is definitely keeping player interest in Fortnite is using code Clark in the item shop. A lot of you guys may not know this, but the money that I get from my supported creator code is actually used to support the people that make this channel run. People like my editor Tanks, my boy Stu, who edits and designs all of my Fortnite maps, and the guy that does all the art for my thumbnail renders, Luna. So believe it or not, by you guys using my creator code, it is actually helping me pump out more content to keep you guys entertained more consistently. So if you are going to buy something in the Fortnite item shop anyway, consider using my code if you enjoy the content on the channel so far. I love you. Let's keep the video pushing. I think a lot of Fortnite players get stuck in allowing themselves to only enjoy Fortnite one way. This is part of the reason why at the start of the video, I said it's important for you to understand why you enjoy this game. Like, even if Epic changes something that you don't like, you need to ask yourself, how does this negatively impact the way that I enjoy Fortnite? For example, how many times have we heard somebody say, Fortnite added another crappy anime collab or kicks. Oh, this is terrible. Item shop sucks. Okay, sure. Those things might not be for you, but how is that affecting the gameplay? Oh no, the gameplay is actually great this season. That's actually what I enjoy the most about it. They really gave us back some core gameplay mechanics that I've been missing for a really long time. Well, John, it sounds to me like kicks and anime skins are not that much of an issue for you. And look, it's not just the cosmetics either. It's other stuff like, oh my God, Fortnite added some gameplay mechanic that's actually terrible. The season's ruined. Oh, hey, look, Fortnite Reload exists. Like, just play a different mode. But I think at this point, you see what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of ways to enjoy Fortnite in spite of something not going the way that you like. If one aspect of Fortnite gets ruined, enjoy a different aspect of it over here. Now, I will admit that this strategy does not work if your enjoyment of Fortnite is very rigid. For example, if you only enjoy Fortnite because of competitive play, or you only enjoy Fortnite because of the storyline, or you only enjoy Fortnite because of the cosmetics, this is where you're gonna have problems. Your entire world is going to shatter because of the change in direction to the one thing that you decide to enjoy about Fortnite. To me, this is the worst way to experience almost anything, to only enjoy something for one particular aspect of it. Inevitably, something is going to happen to the one thing that you enjoy that's going to shake up the way that that thing works. And if it's not a change that you like, you're going to completely throw away the game and start to crap talk it because you don't agree with the direction and the vision, because there's only one thing that you could possibly enjoy with this game's concept or evolution. Now, let me say this as well. That does not mean that the things that are being changed, even if you only enjoy one aspect of Fortnite, it doesn't mean that these things are trivial either. I do not think that competitive players should have to deal with the metas of goofier Fortnite seasons. I do not think that the direction in Fortnite's storyline is the best way to go about it right now. I think that the storyline objectively has had a huge decrease in quality over the last few years. I also do not agree with the change to cosmetic rarity in the locker. I think it stripped away some of Fortnite's identity and its uniqueness and what the game was supposed to be and how it's presented to us. Being able to enjoy multiple aspects of Fortnite and ultimately being able to figure out why you love this game is really the nature of why I started doing commentary content. There were a lot of times I had questions about why I enjoyed something when others didn't, or why I didn't like the direction that something was going, and I wanted to deep dive into that. I wanted to dissect that and understand what is the reasoning behind why I or others might perceive this to be a negative change. What are the impacts of this? And is there some way that I can maybe look past this or just understand it for what it is outside of my own personal enjoyment? This is the reason why I don't get upset with a lot of the decisions that Epic Games makes. It's not that I agree with everything or even enjoy every decision that they make with this game. However, I ask myself consistently, what is giving me the most enjoyment in the game right now? And even if they make a decision that I don't like, is there something else that exists inside the game or some other aspect of it that is still enjoyable to me in spite of this decision? Doesn't mean that we shouldn't speak our minds, and doesn't mean that opinions about different aspects of the game aren't important. However, I think what a lot of people will tend to find if you understand why you enjoy Fortnite is that a lot of the things that you dislike, for the most part, are pretty trivial. They don't necessarily impact the way you experience the game. Now, sometimes that is not the case. Sometimes it will be true that Fortnite has maybe taken a step in the wrong direction. However, at its core, you need to be asking yourself the question, are you still having fun? Because if you are, well, maybe the change is not as bad as you thought it was. The other thing, too, is a lot of the problems that I personally had with Fortnite were resolved in Chapter 5, moving into Chapter 6. I was afraid about getting consistent updates, and ever since Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2, we've had really good consistent updates. I wanted LTMs to come back to some degree. We got LTMs last year. I wanted to have more consistent live events. They gave us mini events every season, all the way up to Fortnite Remix or Fortnite Prelude or whatever, and although I didn't like that, it was still really cool to see all these different live events coming into Fortnite, whether they be mini or even the musical one, which I wasn't a big fan of. I wanted more goofy items in the loot pool. They gave us that. I thought hit scan was essential to Fortnite's identity and it needed to return. What did they do? They gave us that too. When you look back at my catalog of videos from last year and talk about the gripes that I had with Fortnite, once again, for me personally, a lot of the things that I love the game for, they all got addressed, answered, corrected, and resolved. Doesn't mean the game's perfect, doesn't mean that the game doesn't have flaws, doesn't mean that there's not things that I won't critique and change, but at its core, right now, I am having a lot of fun with Fortnite again, in spite of all the problems that it has. We all know that Fortnite is an insanely unique game, and because of its uniqueness, there are so many different ways to be able to enjoy it. And normally, what I find is that when one thing that I like disappears or is ruined in some kind of way or is lessened, there's always something else, either new or something else that'll come back that will reinvigorate my interest in the game. At the end of the day, that's why I want you guys to ask yourself the question, why do you play Fortnite? What is your relationship like with this game? What is your story? Where were you when you first started playing Fortnite, when you first found out about it? I want you guys to let me know down in the comment section below. And until next time, I love y'all. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.